Hare Krishna, everybody. Good evening and good morning. Thank you very much for attending Mother Nidra's talk. You're all very lucky to be present live in this talk.
Lucky one.
We'll start with Mangalacharana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukhyamatimirandasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurmilitam jena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Keshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
Yeah.
jai.
So, you start? Yeah, my obeisances to everyone. Vanshakapaturishcha, Kripasindagri, Vichapatitam, Bhavani, Viveshani, Vivamaha. Hare Krishna, welcome to all. Happy to have your association. We're sitting here in Prabhupada's room in Denver, Colorado. When Prabhupada came here, first time and only visit in his physical form, in 1975. He saw the mountains as he exited the airport to get into his limousine to come to the temple, and he could see the skyline and the mountains in the distance. And it reminded Prabhupada of the Himalayas. So he thought of New Badrik Ashram as a name for this temple. So this is New Badrik Ashram, where Prabhupada came for about a week in the end of June in 1975. So when he came to offer shelter. That was Prabhupada's wonderful heart. He traveled around the world so much. There was a lot of austerity for him at that age, although he's our Parvrajagacharya, Jet age. Acharya still, it's difficult. And so Prabhupada was doing that for his disciples, and for the people in general, of course, but especially to enliven the disciples, because they needed the care of their spiritual father. Everybody needs that association and care. So Prabhupada was, as we know, constantly traveling. So he came here to give that shelter. And the devotees, some of the grihastas were living in this space here. This was their ashram, their sheltered space. But when they knew that Prabhupada was coming, immediately they were ready to give up their comfortable, sheltered space of this top floor of the ashram and move everything downstairs. Some of them moved into the backyards in tents because it was in the summer. It was warm. So they didn't even question, oh, Prabhupada's coming. Prabhupada needs the best living situation. And they didn't hesitate to give up their comforts and their living situation for Prabhupada. Why? Because he gave them this situation in the first place. He gave them the ashram. He gave them the lifestyle. And in those days, if you weren't in living in the ashram, it was kind of like you weren't really part of ISKCON in the full sense of the word. And of course, now we know that Prabhupada's giving us the understanding of ashram, shelter within any space, any home, any situation in the world. You can have this shelter of Srila Prabhupada. So he came here and the devotees happily did that for him. And so he happily came to reciprocate and give that shelter for everybody. And I wasn't here at that time. I was practicing Krishna consciousness in Canada, temporarily living in Canada. I'm a US citizen, but different circumstances. I was living in Montreal and going to graduate school and then teaching in Quebec and French Canada. So I was practicing Krishna consciousness there, kind of on my so-called on my own. I didn't really feel on my own. I always felt like Prabhupada was with me, because I was reading his books and chanting, and from reading his books, I could understand this is, my spiritual master, because in Prabhupada's words in his books, he was giving shelter, right? Just like when he came here in person, he was giving shelter. And when we read his books, we see from Book Bhagavat, the same shelter is there. Prabhupada's giving his heart through his purports. And he said, I've written these books for you, for the whole world, but he would say it in a really personal way to the disciples, like, I've done this for you. So that's how I was taking shelter initially when I was living in Quebec and teaching. Okay, continue. Okay. So the wonderful aspect of Prabhupada's shelter is that we have it now, we have it then, and forever, Prabhupada can be the shelter for devotees because he's a Nityasiddha eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha and Krishna. So he can eternally give that shelter to everyone, no matter where we are, no matter if we're a disciple, grand disciple, or aspiring, or just friend of Krishna consciousness. In that sense, we always have them. And that is not possible unless it's on the spiritual platform. It's not possible for someone to eternally give shelter. And for time immemorial, Prabhupada's, Radha Krishna's, and Lord Chaitanya's, Panchatattva's shelters is there. But for different living entities, in history, they're sheltered, like Prabhupada would talk about Napoleon, where is he now? Or where is Alexander the Great? Or where's this king? They cannot give eternal shelter. Now, this is available through Srila Prabhupada. And it's for any living entity who just wants to open up their heart, just like when Prabhupada came here, the devotees were opening up this space for Prabhupada to come. And yeah. Okay. So just like this space was opened up here in this house for Prabhupada to come and give association, this was opening up of a physical space by the devotees. So also that space within everyone's heart needs to be opened up to give the opportunity for Prabhupada to share with us. Because one time he told a disciple in the very early days in 26 Second Avenue, he said, if you love me, then I will love you. In other words, we have a relationship going here. And if your free will is such that you don't want to love me or open up to me, then it's not a relationship, right? So Prabhupada was saying, now if you love me, so you open up and express that, and it will be a relationship where I'm loving you and you are loving me. So this was how Prabhupada wanted to give internationally shelter to all so that they could see we have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And even though he would speak, as we know, to big audiences or maybe small groups, everyone felt like he had something personal to say to them, So when I was teaching in Quebec in the elementary school in a little French Canadian town and reading Prabhupada's books, I was thinking about, well, how will I eventually join Prabhupada and the devotees? When will that happen? I'm really not quite sure. But right now I'm in the middle of a school year. It's not good for a teacher in the middle of a school year to quit, because students are very much disturbed when there's that kind of a change, in the middle of the year. So I was thinking, best I just continue on and then see what indications I get for future. So then one night, it was actually early morning, I just sat up in bed, woke up straight up, and I heard Prabhupada talking to me. It was so mystical. And he was saying, it's time to quit your job right now. And I knew that that was not coming from my mind, because my mind had already established I will be a responsible teacher and teach throughout the year and then figure things out in the future. But this, I knew in my heart, this is Prabhupada speaking to me and giving me this instruction to let me know that it's not time to wait. It is time to start moving ahead, to go to an ashram situation that, he had planned for me. But he did not say where. He just said, it's time. It's now time. So that was a very, very profound situation. I had already felt Prabhupada speaking through his words and his books, but this was like very, very personal, as if he was just sitting right there and saying this as the personal instruction just for you. Because Prabhupada would say different things to different devotees. Maybe one sannyasi would say, you travel. Another one, he would say, you stay here in Vrindavan and you manage. So for someone who might have been a teacher, like in my situation, for one devotee, he might have said, you continue. For me, he said, you stop. So that was very much the big impetus. Okay, so he's spoken to me. I've gotten this personal instruction. But the interesting thing, he could have said, now I want you to go so-and-so, to so-and-so ashram, such and such temple. Okay, he could have, but he didn't. So I realized that the pure devotee helps us to intensify our desires to surrender, our relationship with, Prabhupada. He knows exactly how to churn it and intensify it, make it deeper. And because he did not give me an exact direction where to go, it made my mood of prayer like a constant thing, like all day, trying to, do my work as a teacher and all of that. But simultaneously, there was this prayer that began to manifest that, please, Srila Prabhupada, just please reveal what you want, where you think I should go, and give me the indications, right? So I would have different ideas of where I should go, but nothing really seemed to be conclusively, this is it. I didn't feel in my heart, this is really, really it. So I kept praying and looking for signs. And I was thinking, this is very, very intense, because you don't really feel exactly what to do. And the reason is because you don't want to do something independently. You really want it to be sanctioned. So I could see, okay, this is the way the spiritual master deals with us. And Prabhupada, as our Shiksha Guru for all of ISKCON and the whole universe, he deals with the souls. He helps us, just like Narada Muni, he got helped. He was getting darshan of the Lord, and then the Lord disappeared and said that I won't appear to you again in this lifetime, just to intensify your mood and your prayers and your Krishna consciousness. And this would happen too, like on book distribution or Harinam. Different situations would come up where you would feel like, Krishna is dealing with me in these situations with the public to intensify my prayers. For example, when devotees feel like nobody is stopping or reciprocating, and it's like the Sankirtan leader used to say, he'd give that example of Narada Muni, don't worry, Prabhupada's just helping you to intensify your prayers, because in order to burn up, all our anartas and our material consciousness, we have to have a lot of, intensity, like a sort of a subtle heat or something that's just welling up within you to get rid of anything that's independent or separate, and you're just, in your heart, it's just, I'm trying to surrender to you. So when I was reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita at this time, of course, that verse, Sarvadharma Parityajya, just, not worry, just surrender to me, drop everything else that is really not according to full surrender, and just surrender to me. So that meant a lot to me, and I knew that I needed to continue in that mood to understand. Krishna told Arjuna to surrender. Prabhupada's telling me, he's telling everybody, this is how you have to surrender. And this is how you get the shelter. Now, where I was living could have been considered an ashram at the time, because most people live in their own residences these days. But in those days, it was considered that a temple ashram was your real shelter. So if that were not the case, I would have maybe thought, well, I can live like this. It's fine, because most everybody lives like that these days. That's the way devotees live in the world. There's so many thousands of devotees that have ashram homes, and this is the way for this phase of our mission, But because it wasn't the so-called way in those days, I felt like an enormous push by Prabhupada to get into that mood of surrender. So when I used to observe Ekadashi, I would observe it by just eating oranges during the day. I thought that was a simple way to observe Ekadashi. And so I had the mystical experience of trying to honor the Ekadashi prasad of oranges. And the mystical experience was like eating the oranges was not just really an experience of taste. It was an experience of heart, because I was getting in my heart, go to Denver. And I thought, wow, I'm taking this Ekadashi prasad, and the experience of it is not just, wow, good orange. Wow, nice. Thanks, Krishna, for your prasadam. But it was a manifestation of Krishna's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy in the heart. Go to Denver, go to Denver, go to Denver. And I thought, wow, this is like really very unusual. I've never had such an experience. So I thought to myself, I need to continue the whole experience of praying and surrendering, because this is what the spiritual master wants. He wants the disciple to really be able to follow, to have so much faith in the spiritual master. So I said, okay, Prabhupada, I have faith that you want me to continue intense prayers. And in that process, you will give more and more signs so that I'm convinced in my heart exactly where I'm to go. It seems very, very apparent now that I'm heading towards Denver, but I want to make 100% sure that this is what it is. So I was really, really feeling so happy and blissful to be chanting. I didn't have beads or anything at that time. There wasn't any facility at that time to get beads. So I would just chant for several hours a day, and that would be my japa, and read Prabhupada's books. So different situations came up, like one of the fifth grade teachers, he was an artist, and he gave me a really nice painting for the apartment where I was staying that depicted mountains. And the interesting thing was every time I looked at the painting, I thought about Colorado, because I had been here as a teenager. I had stayed in the mountains. I had done retreats in Colorado, Christian retreats. And so I had a lot of experiences, some spiritual experiences in Colorado as a young person when I was like 15, 16. And so when I had that painting, it was like drawing me in and saying, okay, come to Colorado, come to Denver. So I thought, I feel now pretty much convicted. This is where I need to go. This is the shelter. This is the ashram. This is the temple. And this is Prabhupada's direction. But I also felt that Prabhupada was saying, don't be complacent. This in very intense kind of praying and mood of surrender needs to just keep going on. And sometimes you think, wow, how is that? I feel like maybe my heart's going to burst. It's getting so intense. But it was Prabhupada saying, this is the journey, this is like your eternal journey, that you're always intensifying your surrender so that someday you can have love of God, and that can be continually intensified. So that was my experience there. So I kept praying and praying and praying and praying, even until I wound up here in Denver. There's many different little things that happen, but I'm not quite sure exactly how you want to do the rest of the program.
Maybe they have some questions. Would you like her to elaborate on a specific thing, or would you like her to explain something further? We also have Kanteya Prabhu.
Jai.
Kanteya Prabhu, you have any question? Oh, actually, we cannot hear you.
I would like to ask.
Can you please repeat that, because we couldn't hear you for last few seconds.
Obeisances for you. Jai. Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
So, my question is practical. You see so many devotees kind of restlessly moving from one temple to another, one project to another, and somehow you have been the epitome of steadiness. And I want to know, how did you manage? I mean, did you feel any time the desire to go somewhere else, or just, this is my place, this is my Prabhupada Desha, I don't need anything else?
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice question. We did talk a little bit the last time, a little bit about Prabhu Desh. Thanks for bringing that up. What happened was, after coming to Denver and continually reading Prabhupada's books, I heard about Prabhu Desh, and that the Guru gives a place for the disciple to execute service, to share Krishna consciousness. So what I felt was a heartfelt indication from Prabhupada that this should be your mood. This should be the way you continue your surrender. I really felt that in my heart. And it seemed to be the mood of the temple authorities and the devotees, that yes, stay here, be steady here. And it seemed to be the indication from Radha Govinda, our deities here, because there was so much nice service to do for them, and you develop a wonderful attachment for your deities. So feeling that it was Prabhupada's instructions to me, through my heart, I felt like I will just stay here unless I'm asked to do otherwise. And sometimes we would go for short periods of time to distribute books in other centers, but this was always home base. So basically, that was how I felt. I really felt this is what Prabhupada wants. And it seemed like it was what the temple authorities wanted, and it seemed to be in line with what Radha Govinda wanted. So that's why I did that.
Thank you so much. I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, you've never been to India in pilgrimage?
Actually,
or you did?
I've been 7 times. I've been to India.
Oh, okay. So it was a completely wrong information.
But it's right in the sense that you feel like you want to go on pilgrimage and really truly be there. Not on the Maya level in the Dham. You really want to enter into the Dham. So I would say, in some sense, I've never really entered in. And so
Vishnu.
sometime in the future. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Anyone else has any other questions? This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. So, Mataji, I would like to know about your personal experiences with Srila Prabhupada. I would like to hear that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So very little personal in the sense of, Prabhupada in person, a lot in the heart, and a lot in separation, you could say. But in 1977, our temple president wanted some of us to go to Mayapur. We were doing full-time book distribution, and at that time, Prabhupada was advising that devotees come to India and get their batteries recharged, so to speak. And if you're out there all day distributing books, then you need a battery recharge, and everybody would go to Mayapur and Vrindavan festivals to get spiritually recharged to continue your service during the year. So temple president asked us to go. In other words, he said, get out there this weekend. If you can collect enough Lakshmi for your fees and your flight expenses, you can go. You have the weekend. Go get out there and see if you can do it. So that's what we did. And so we got so-called qualified to go. And so that was 1977. And Prabhupada was at the festival. This was the last Mayapur Gaur Purnima festival with us physically, and in 1977. So we were there in February, March in Mayapur. And so Prabhupada would have darshan in his room. It was a regulated thing, as you would read about in many of the books, that later afternoon around 4:00, Prabhupada's room would open up for devotees and life members and guests to come and have Prabhupada's association. So that was my first time being in Prabhupada's personal presence, was at this darshan. And when I came to the door of the darshan room, I was paying my obeisances. And when I got up, before I entered into the room, I realized in my heart that a long-standing childhood desire was about to be fulfilled. In other words, what happened was, when I was a child, I wanted to know what it would be like to be in the association of Lord Jesus and his disciples. I very much wanted to know what was that experience. And so when I was there at Prabhupada's darshan door and looking in and seeing Prabhupada and the disciples and the guests, I understood in my heart that now this desire is being fulfilled. You're here with the Shaktivesh avatar and his disciples. Now you know the desire is being, by Prabhupada's mercy, being fulfilled for you. And so that was very, very thrilling. And so when I walked into the room, the only place to sit was next to Pishima, Prabhupada's sister. So I sat down next to Pishima, and she noticed that I had a little paper plate that I had brought from Denver with some dried fruits and nuts that I wanted to give to Prabhupada, because I was told that when you go to see the spiritual master, you should give some presentation. So that I brought to give, but I didn't know how I was going to give it, because it was, Prabhupada speaking and there's all these people here, and I don't want to interfere with his flow of speech. And anyway, so I just sat there with the plate, and Pishima's looking at me, and then she's kind of with, whispering in Bengali and hand sign language, telling me, go up and give it to Srila Prabhupada now. So I was thinking, oh, wow, I would never do this on my own, but she's Prabhupada's sister and she said to do it, and so I'm going to do it. So I got up in the midst of everything, and in order to put it down on Prabhupada's table, I had to move a few things. And I knew that Prabhupada wanted things just so, wherever he was. So I was a little nervous about that. But in order to fulfill the instruction of Pishima and put the plate down, I just, kind of slowly moved a few things, put the plate down. And when I did that, Prabhupada said, he made this sound. And then I sat down next to Pishima and she had a smile, and then Prabhupada went on. And so then years later, sometimes devotees would say, wow, you had darshan with Prabhupada. What did he say? Did he give you, like personal instructions? And I said, yeah, there's one thing Prabhupada said to me, and that was, And they said, what? And I said, yeah, that's what he said to me. That's the verbal way he related with me. And that's how it was, and nothing more. And then one time I read in one of Satsrup Maharaj's books about pastimes with Prabhupada, he said that Srila Prabhupada used to make this sound, and it's written out in the book, And he said, in that sound was everything. He said it was Prabhupada's ecstasy, Prabhupada's heart, and Prabhupada's joy, and everything was within that one sound. And I thought, wow, that's really wonderful that somebody else had an experience of Prabhupada's verbalizing this sound, and he's explaining how he understood that experience. And I was thinking, wow, okay, that really verifies how I felt. And it seems like a wonderful reciprocation I got from Prabhupada. It was like every word in the universe was all crunched up into that. Every bit of love, every instruction was just in that one sound. And you know how disciples would say that Prabhupada might give you one glance, he might give you a few words, and that kept you going for decades. So, and you could say that one sound has kept me going for decades. So that was my experience in the darshan. And then Prabhupada would come to temple for greeting the deities and Guru Puja and class. That year, I only remember coming to temple maybe a few times, because then he got quite ill. But the time I remember really vividly, Prabhupada was going around Radha Madhava in the old temple, I guess that's what the Lotus building in the bottom, and ringing the bell, as we've seen in videos. And so in order to get something from, Prabhupada's feet, I got the petals that Prabhupada walked on, the flower petals that were taken to offer to Prabhupada. And then we ate the petals. And that's how we got blessed. And then Prabhupada was sick. For the rest of the festival, we did not see him. He was meeting with his leaders and his GBCs in his room, but he wasn't coming down to the temple. And some of the devotees were collecting for Prabhupada's herbs. It's expensive, to get a lot of Ayurvedic herbs and different things for his treatment. And so devotees were walking around, some of the ladies, Sankirtan women from New Vrindavan, like Mahar and others, walking around asking devotees, please give some Lakshmi for Prabhupada's medications. And so we did that. And so I did not see Prabhupada after that, during that festival, and he did not go to the Vrindavan festival that year. He stayed in Mayapur. And so that was the extent of the one-on-one, you could say, association. So basically feeling Prabhupada's presence in separation has been the story. In fact, one of the devotees that I got initiated with in Denver, Jagajanani, Nakama Prabhu's wife, they live in New Dwarka. And she never actually physically had Prabhupada's association. But because the spiritual master goes beyond, the form, the body, she is such a committed and devoted disciple of Srila Prabhupada without any doubts or, lacking in desire to surrender, even though never physically met her spiritual master. So you can see the whole experience with the guru can totally transcend, just physical presence, that we know. I think the whole society of ISKCON is appreciating more and more that understanding of Prabhupada's presence with us, and more than many of us had, in the sense of his lectures being available, his everything about Prabhupada more available now. So his presence is more there, but yet at the same time, there's this aspect of separation. So it's a really kind of it's a way of keeping up that intensity of desire to surrender and prayer, because there's that separation, and it keeps the fire of the intensity of the relationship, the desire to get pure and have this relationship. It keeps it like stoking the fire kind of thing.
We should break our fast. We should break our fast now.
Oh yeah. It's time to break Ekadashi here. We have 8 minutes.
Commercial
to break
break.
it.
If you have any other
We can still
question,
go on. We have some.
we can have maybe some more questions.
We have some
can
rice from Jagannath Puri. I can offer you also in in virtual time. Jagannath Puri Mahaprasad rice. And we were saying how it's like getting the rice of the fields, that they put the rice out in the fields for the old rice for the cows. But Raghunath Das Goswami at one point, that's what he was honoring. He was honoring that rice in the fields. And so this is from the Lord's offering. Excuse me. We're just following the the deity schedule here.
Any other questions? I wanted to help our question, please.
Yeah, we have some items here in this Prabhupada museum that Prabhupada used. You can put right here if you like.
I'll put it behind you.
Okay. This is a Prabhupada's suitcase, one of them that he traveled internationally with. It still has the ticket on it from Pan Am Airlines, which doesn't exist anymore. So this was one of his ways of traveling. His servant would take care of the suitcase. And then we knew he had his little white bag with all his special papers and things like that. Things that were very, very important were in the small white bag. And we also have a nice little cooker here, one of Prabhupada's tiered cookers. And when Prabhupada was here, Brahmananda Swami was his secretary and Upendra Prabhu was his servant. And Prabhupada used to try to encourage the devotees to read his books and enjoy his books by himself enjoying them. So in the backyard, he would sit in his rocking chair and have the devotees read the Krishna book to him. And he would express so many different emotions and appreciations for the book. And devotees would say, Prabhupada, reading your own books. Many times I think Prabhupada was asked about that. Oh, Prabhupada, you seem to like to read your own books. And as he explained to the devotees here, it's because they're Krishna's books. And this is Krishna's dictation here. And so in that way, we'll always have Prabhupada's association in these books, he said, right, for 10,000 years, law books. And so in Prabhupada's separation, how much there's been an increase in everything, in book distribution, in projects like the TOVP, and so many different temple projects and individual projects that maybe you all are involved with. I mean, this is like such an increase from what was being presented to Prabhupada when he was here, when he was physically with us. You know, much was going on and extraordinary things going on. But when you think about like how much prasad is being distributed now, and how many books and different marathons like Bhagavatam Set Marathon or Bhagavad Gita Marathon, and then all the wonderful projects like with congregation, it's extraordinary that it's a huge increase, and this is all because devotees are trying to please their spiritual masters, trying to please Prabhupada, their Shiksha Guru, if he's, you know, their grandfather guru. However it is that they have a relationship, this relationship is enabling the devotees all over the world to do so much of an increase in spreading Krishna consciousness. So we should really feel Prabhupada's presence. Don't doubt it, that he is with us, and that he will guide us. Even if he's not physically present, he is guiding us, and we should always take shelter of him. He's there. He's there for even people who've never met him, right? How many stories we've heard about people that got a book and they said they saw Prabhupada's picture and they said, I had a dream. He spoke to me in a dream. Actually, one devotee here, she said, oh, you know, one of my siblings had a dream and Prabhupada came in the dream and frightened her. And the reason I think he frightened her was because Prabhupada's presence is such that, okay, now you need to purify your life. As for some people, that's a little frightening. But yeah, and he appears to people all over the planet, people who have never had that association, even maybe with devotees. And so he, as the Jagat Guru, he's coming and he's trying to encourage in so many ways, even within the dreams of people who don't even know who is he. Sometimes we would meet people and they say, wow, now I know who's this person. You know, I dreamt about this person, or somebody told me about this person. I've never heard of this person. And now I'm finally getting the connection with this person. And I feel there's something really, really special here.
Maybe you want to say about this particular murti?
Oh, yeah. This murti here, Lochan Prabhu, you know, he's done most of the murtis, I think, throughout the movement. And when we opened up this Prabhupada Library and Museum for the offering of the centennial in 1996, this was one of our offerings to Prabhupada, was to make this space a Prabhupada Museum and Library. So we asked Lochan Prabhu to come and visit here, and we talked about what kind of a murti to have for the museum. So it was decided that it would be a murti where Prabhupada's dictating. So you can see his right hand and arm are up, as if he could be holding his microphone from his dictaphone. So he used to have a dictaphone, not his dictaphone, but one that was like his. And I don't know where that is right now, but that's why Prabhupada's in this, you could say, mudra, so to speak, the dictaphone mudra. So Lochan Prabhu, I think he was on the East Coast. He worked on this murti there and they carefully brought it here. And so this has been since the centennial year. That was our offering. And we knew also that Prabhupada really loved Padayatra and Harinam. So another offering, maybe some of you were involved in different padayatras or heard about them through the centennial time period. The goal was 108 padayatras for the world. And so devotees all over the world, they planned their local padayatras through Europe and through different parts of the United States, East Coast, West Coast. So we had our own offering to Prabhupada here in the centennial year, going from Boulder to Denver, which is no big deal, but about 45 minutes by car, right? So it took taking a few days walking. The devotees who walked, I think Tusta Krishna Prabhu was on that party, and they stayed with different congregational members and did programs at their home, and then continued to walk down the highway to Denver. And then what we did after that was we had devotees dress up as Panchatattva and go to different houses to celebrate the centennial year after the Padayatra. So we had our devotees who were the Panchatattva. They were dressed up like Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, etc. And bringing Prabhupada's message, Lord Chaitanya's message to all the different homes, telling them this is how we're doing it. We're doing it to every town and village. This is what Prabhupada wants, and the people loved it. I wish we could do more of that, go to every home, have our little Panchatattva devotees, and it just attracted everybody. And whatever home you would go to, if they were like Vaishnavas, they would make a feast, or we would bring a feast, however it was, and going around every town and village in Nagar Kirtan. So hopefully everybody can be enlivened by more Nagar Kirtan. Prabhupada would love that.
If you would like Mother Nidra to cast her glance upon you, you can turn on your videos. You'll be very fortunate to get her vision upon you. This is Saragrahi Devidasi. This is Kanteya Prabhu, Kulavati Krishna Priya, Nitya Kishori from Denver, Parijata Devi, she's from Juhu, Mumbai.
Wonderful.
And this is Taruni Radha from New Jersey. And our very dear Koma and Kishori.
So some of them maybe didn't get Lord Nrsingadev's darshan. Kontiya Prabhu maybe like to have Nrsingadev's darshan.
Yeah.
So we can
Yes.
we can give you darshan of our Yoga Nrsinga deity that's staying in the front room here with Prabhupada in his museum. This is a very happy, peaceful Yoga Nrsinga who's come to give love and mercy, protection and guidance to the devotees in Denver and Colorado. And this is our Utsav deity. He came from South India. So Utsav deity gets the bathing and the abhishek, and he also blesses everyone. So everybody's getting blessings from the Utsav deity for all of you. He's blessing you all and giving you the protection that's needed to take all spiritual risks in the Sankirtan mission, intelligent, guided risks. And yeah, so he's giving that. And also here, Pujari from South India that presented this deity to our Nrsinga devotee, Dhruva. You may know him. This is from, according to the Pujari, from the stamba or the pillar that Lord Nrsingadev burst out of to fight with Hiranyakashipu. So all blessings for you all from Lord Nrsingadev. He would love to have your association If you're somehow here in Denver, please come. Hi. Very wonderful space here. When you come, you'll be able to see all the beautiful photos from the Bhaktivedanta archives of Prabhupada on his morning walks, his walks in the neighborhood, his times at the temple. And yeah, you can see very nicely when you come. It's a little bit of the impetus to visit.
So was this the door where Prabhupada entered?
No, door where he entered was right here.
Oh, okay.
And as you can see,
Oh, yes.
right out front of this door is the front of the ashram and Prabhupada. You can see here with Brahmananda Swami and Upendra Prabhu, Prabhupada coming down from the ashram. So, so this is where Prabhupada walked, and the little flower pots are still here.
And that's our temple. It's the Shri Radha Govinda Dev temple right there across the street.
Sometimes in Vrindavan, you see these same kind of cement flower pots in the different residences. So I thought it was very fitting that the house where Prabhupada stayed had these pots where we grew marigolds for Prabhupada. So you can see Prabhupada on walks in the neighborhood, in the park. So many different devotees, many of them not even in their bodies right now. They've left and they've rejoined Prabhupada. So we even have Vishnu John Maharaj here. He would always come and visit wherever Prabhupada was. So, and we had Satsvarup Maharaj, Sudama Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Parkesh Maharaj at the time, and Ramananda Swami, and Bhavananda Prabhu was here too, and so nice. So many nice devotees serving Prabhupada, and now with Prabhupada on his mission, or however it is that Prabhupada and Krishna want them to be serving, that's where they are now. Many of these pictures are for Prabhupada's morning walks at the city park. And this park, of course, now, because Prabhupada was there, is a tirtha. And it has two main ponds. And the big pond we call Radhakund, and the small one we call Shamakund. There's actually even a little sangam between them. And then at one far end of the park, there is a little Lalita Kund. That's there as well. And there's a little rise in one part of the park.
Isn't this the pond?
That is Radhakund right there. And the rise and the rocks and the little kunja parts of the park form a Govardhan in the park. So Vrindavan manifested in the park because of Prabhupada coming. And in 2019 was the 50th anniversary of devotees in Colorado. So we had Dinabandhu Prabhu come here because Dinabandhu Prabhu joined here. He joined here in, I guess it was the late 60s. He joined in, he was from the Boulder area in Colorado. And so he joined Krishna Consciousness in Colorado. So he came here in 2019 to help us celebrate the anniversary of devotees in Colorado, 50 years. And we brought him to the park and we told him, Prabhu, this is the Radhakund, and we told him all the different places in the park, and wherever we would go, he would speak just as if he was on parikrama in Vrindavan. He would do the different kathas, you know, wherever we were. And so it was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Okay, we should let Mother Nidra.
Time to go for service.
Time to go for service.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. My obeisances to all of you. Hope to have more association in future. So happy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Happy to have.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Krishna, thank you so much.
Shikopatibhischa, Kripasandhibhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo.
Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.